AMD, one of the biggest chip makers in the world. They sell chips to Amazon, Google, all these other cloud service platforms, millions of consumers. I'm Jake Invest. Please like and subscribe. Okay, so let's check out their PE ratio, their historical PE ratio. Look at this. Okay, so when they became profitable in 2017 to 2018, they finally became profitable and their PE ratio was at 100, okay? And then their PE ratio went all the way up to about 178. And right now, today, the PE ratio is about 27. And that is pretty much one of its lowest PE ratios it's had. Even back in 2014, the PE ratio is always the PE ratio has always been higher than what it is right now. Right now, it's the lowest it's ever been. So, I think that this is probably one of the best times to get into this company because, look, the data doesn't lie. I mean, very, very good. And this is AMD PE ratio, right? The market cap is way down than its high. So it went all the way up to about almost $200 billion market cap, and it's down to 102 billion. Okay, so that means that this is probably one of the best times to get in. Now, it could keep going down. Okay, this market could keep crashing and the PE ratio could go down to 6, and then the market cap could go down to 50 billion. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think that eventually AMD is going to go back up because they do not pay dividends, so they are a growth company. Their forecast says the low in 12 months is $97, which is a 30% upside. So if you bought one share now in 12 months, you can make 30% on your money. However, the high is 241, so you could technically make 200% or more on your money in a year to 5 years from now. If you're a long-term investor, yes, this is one of the best stocks to get into. I am a long-term investor. However, I do buy ETFs as more than 50% of your portfolio. However, I do screw up and I'm not perfect. I might have more of my portfolio into stocks than ETFs. ETFs I like is VTI and VU. You could do international as well, VXUS, but who knows? Who cares about international? America for life. International could do good as well. So this company is set for growth. So their revenue in 2021 was 16 billion, and then they project 26 billion in 2022, and then by 2026 they predict that it will be 43 billion in revenue in 2026. That's the prediction, and they're going to constantly be profitable now. So it's just recently that they've become profitable. In the last 4 years they started making profits, which is good, and I think that they're going to continue on that trend. And then their revenue, they've constantly had some pretty good revenue for the last 10 years, so that is also something you want to see. It's good profitability. Now if we look here, they do dilute the shareholders a little bit. I know I'm freaking tired of seeing this dilution. AMD, you're a big company. You don't need to dilute the shareholders, all right? You can quit doing that. Don't fucking dilute us anymore. I'm getting freaking sick and tired of it. It's starting to piss me off with this dilution bullshit. Because, they take from us. They're stealing from our investments, all right? I buy 1 out of 10 stocks. I own 1/10 of the company. And then they diluted us by 2 shares. So now there's 12. And now I only own 1/12. They took away a good portion of my percentage of the company. It's pretty screwed up. They have positive free cash flow. For the last past 3 years, they've had positive free cash flow. For some reason in 2021, apparently it was a fluke year. They did super good. Every company almost did really good in 2021. The only people that didn't do good is the consumer and people that are at the bottom. Everybody got poor, the rich got richer. This is why it's a good time to start investing, make a bunch of money. So let's see here. So they make $200,000 per employee in profits. That's pretty good. Gross margin is 48.53% with operating and profit margin of 20% and 17%. So they have a pretty good profit margin. That's what you want to see, is a positive profit margin, 20%. Very good, very good. Barely any short interest, like 2.5% short. So some people think it's going to fall. I think that it's near its bottom. So AMD's growth over the past few years has primarily been driven by market share gains through its Ryzen PC chips, EPYC, server chips, as well as game consoles. Its chips power data centers are used by some of the cloud leaders, including Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Google, right? So it says Google twice. And then every time I say Google, every time I say it, it starts popping up shit on my phone. Like, I can't just say freaking Google. I'm gonna have to say Alphabet. All right. This phone, I have two phones and they both went off. Analysts highlight the acquisition of Xilinx and Pensando should further enhance AMD's data center solution capabilities. Among 42 analysts, AMD stock has outperformed rating. Wall Street has a 12-month median price of $129 for the stock, suggesting an increase of more than 73% from the current price. The 12-month price target range currently stands between $63 and $200. This is a little bit different than the last website I went to, but it seemed pretty close, you know. So the fair value seems to be around $113. So that's pretty good. In recent months, AMD shares have come under significant pressure. However, the semiconductor name should benefit from the growth of data centers, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cloud computing. Well, Intel's coming out with a new chip, and it's going to be a pretty efficient, amazing processor that could compete with AMD. And here is the thing. Here's the facts, okay? If you invest in AMD, then you're competing with Intel. And if you invest in Intel, then you're competing with AMD. I'll invest in AMD, Nvidia, and Intel, right? So you got to invest in all the competitors because I think everybody that's competing with each other are going to do good, right? They all have their own thing. There's plenty of money in the world. There's plenty of people that like the other companies. I think it's always good to invest in the competitor because AMD is a good company, Intel is a good company, and Nvidia is a good company. So you invest in everything. This is not financial advice, however, but that's just what I think. I don't really see AMD like hitting the shitter because Intel comes out with a better processor than AMD. I think AMD is going to catch back up. The only thing that is different about Intel and AMD is that Intel makes everything in America and AMD outsources it to Taiwan semiconductor facility. And whenever China takes over, that means that their AMD is probably going to tank, if you know what I'm saying, because, you know, it's a little sketchy whenever a country takes over another country and then your facility gets taken over, you know, like, do they own that anymore? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. I think that AMD is a buy, and I think that in 12 months it'll be worth a lot more. Now, eventually AMD could phase out like Intel did and become a value company if AMD one day quits growing, because that's just what happens to big companies over time. So eventually AMD is going to quit like skyrocketing in price. It is trending right now, so you kind of want to be wary of what the masses are investing in, okay? But right now it's tanking. So, you know, just be prepared for whenever it goes up. You might want to sell out whenever it's really overvalued. You know, you don't want to buy in when it's overvalued. You don't want to sell. All right, but it's not financial advice. Like and subscribe. Have a good night.